Synced up for what's going to be an interesting and difficult day. What's up, everybody? Good day. Happy Tuesday. Aaron here with a conscious and spiritual thought that is really deep and is going to be tough for me, as this is something I am realizing I've had a struggle with for a vast majority of my life and the majority of my adult life, and I'm realizing where it spawned from. And yeah, it's just not going to be easy, but I'm here doing this because the hope is not only will it help me, but most importantly, it'll help someone else out there with a similar situation. And that is the addiction to adult content and the relative things that happen with that content. Being abusively raised as Christian, there's the whole beating into you that sex is bad and porn is bad and all these other things. And the access to it is so readily available that it makes all of that extremely difficult. And then let's just stack on top of that the sexual abuse that happened. It is a hard thing for me to heal. There were situations that took place in my life that are handled, as far as I'm aware, that really left some deep wounds. So I am somewhat versed in this topic. And it's interesting to me how abuse can lead to addiction of the same thing. I've been abused in regards to nicotine. I've been abused in regards to sex things and sex in general. I've been abused in regards to alcohol things. Thankfully, I was never addicted to alcohol, but I did partake for a few years. All legally, though. Even nicotine, for me, started my 18th birthday. My first alcoholic beverage was on my 21st birthday. So I was still a good boy in those regards. However, thankfully, alcohol never really stuck to me, and I'm still currently working through the nicotine addiction. But the adult content, sex, porn, whatever you want to call it, I'm sure YouTube's algorithm is going to have a blast with this one. Is a hard one. Because of the hypocritical abuse I received as a child and growing up into a teenager. There was the decisions made within me to make certain decisions, to do certain things. And I'm not proud of a lot of things that happened, but that's not the point. What's really important is remembering that it's not your fault. Remembering that it's not you, it's not who you are, and that there is a way to heal everything. And I'm going to try to give some tips that I've been doing myself to try to acclimate and, take this part of my shadow and bring it into my life and accept it and heal it. So what I've been doing, I'm just gonna go through here. Determine where you regularly feed the addiction. Determine where you geez, I have a speech impediment with R's and L's. Determine where you regularly feed the addiction. There's a few areas where it's almost like a habitual thing. Well, I get the urge. And I've gone through the process of realizing where these are. And I have written down, if possible, avoid them. Some of them you can. If you can avoid the areas where the ego and the shadow comes in and says, you get these things where when you're at a certain place, you're in a certain place, you do a certain thing. You go to work, you do a certain thing. You sit at your computer, you do a certain thing. You sit at home on your couch in front of your TV, you do a certain thing, right? We get these patterns in our minds. And what we're trying to do here is break that pattern. So if you can avoid those places, great. If you can't, reduce the access to the content. If it's on your phone or it's an app, remove those related apps and replace them with healthier apps, and try not to use your web browser. Keep in mind, this is specifically for, I guess not really specifically for adult content, but if there's something that you're not happy, like you don't feel fulfilled doing in these areas on your phone or whatever, this can kind of apply everywhere, but this context is about basically pornography. The biggest thing here is to reduce access. So I've done this thing where instead of taking my phone with me to these places and using it in these places, because I'll just do it and then kind of lose myself in it and then realize later, like, what the hell? I'm sure I've been told it's kind of similar to a drug addiction. I don't know, because I haven't really had a illicit drug addiction. So I'll have my phone with me. Like I said, I'd like to make sure I'm available for those who need me at all times. But I'll set it aside and I'll bring something else. I'll either bring a book, or most of the time I'll bring my Switch in and I'll play games. Because at the same time as reducing the access to this content, I'm trying to reduce use of other content, like other electronic addictions, like the social medias and the things like that. The games are ways to keep your brain activity going, where you go on social media and you're just consuming. You're not using it as the tool and marketplace that it is. You're brain dead for the most part. You're just sitting there scrolling through, and you get an occasional giggle, and you're programmed to click that like and click that share and tap that heart and all this other shit. What I'm realizing is a lot of these healing processes for these addiction-like things really comes down to keeping your brain activity going, not letting yourself kind of relapse into old patterns. Break free of those patterns, chop those chains, do something new. If you don't read often, get a book of an interesting topic that is not connected to the content you're trying to avoid, right? And indulge in that. Find a game, listen to music, meditate. Use those apps that we talked about yesterday, the Ananda and Declutter. Enlighten yourself a little bit. Raise your vibration, because being trapped in these addictions, this is a non-judgmental thing, but being trapped in these addictions does lower your vibratory levels. You need to transcend and ascend above these addictions. And there's a lot of things that are very counterculture that we talk about that involves this. There's a lot of things that are very woo-woo that we talk about, and there's a lot of things that are I can't even think of the word right now, but what we need to do in this situation is break those mental connections, those mental pathways that have been formed over years of habit. And I've had good stages where I'll go for a decent amount of time, but then I'll fall back and go back to it. But it's okay. It's okay to, for instance, relapse during the process, because it takes time. You'll bounce back. I always do. You always will. I always will. We always will, because we're rewiring our brains in these situations. Because what we're trying to do is to go through that process is we're building the mental fortitude to consistently and consciously navigate away from those thoughts. Because those thoughts aren't us, right? We are not thoughts. We're not thinkers. We're not the thinkers of thought. They present themselves. If there's something we don't want to do, why would we actively choose to always think about it, right? So consciously navigate away from those thoughts. Take the energy that comes with those, keep it to yourself, and then put it towards something else. The more energy you feed things you want, the more they will come. The less energy you feed things you don't want, the more they will go. Feed the energy where you want it to. Feed your energy where you want to be. You want to be stuck in that addiction, well, then that's where your energy is going to go. If you don't want to be stuck in these addictions, you don't feed it energy. And I understand it's hard. Believe me, I understand it's hard. I'm in the middle of it. And I've gone, as of filming this, a week. But I just had some other things happen to me not really happened to me, but I had other experiences during meditation and speaking to higher self. And I've made a heavier commitment than ever before. And feel free to check up on me on the socials. They're always in the links down below. All of them. You can hit me up anywhere. You can email me directly. It's all possible. We can keep each other committed to these promises that we're making ourselves. Keep checking up on each other, making sure we're staying in line. It's important to remember that these addictions are okay. But it's still better to heal them. Everything happens for a reason. There are no coincidences. Literally everything happens for a reason. So there's a reason why you chose to put yourself through this. A higher reason. There's a higher reason why you somehow managed to come to this video to get some input. Maybe my tips will help. Maybe you have tips for other people that you could put in the comments to assist. This is a hard one to break. There's a lot of physical science behind it in terms of like biochemistry that makes it hard to break. This is why we're building that mental fortitude and that the spiritual armor to work through this. And we can do it all together. Basically, I mean, it's fairly simple. If it's a location that it happens, avoid that location. If it's a thing that you do that leads to it, change that thing. And if you can't do both, well, the whole point of this is to build that mental fortitude to consciously and consistently navigate away from the thoughts. That's kind of the 3 tips there that I have currently. I would love to hear what other ideas and tips and options that you all have down below. Because maybe what I have doesn't help. Maybe what I have is something you've already tried and it doesn't work. Well, hopefully someone else down there will have some guidance for you, some options. Or, like I said, meditate, speak to higher self, and gain some positive source from source, universe. Give you some ideas about things to try, methods to do. So, do you struggle with sexual addiction? And this is just talking about porn, really, right? This isn't going deeper into ladies of the night, as I've never experienced that. I can't say for sure that what I'd have to say would work, but I can assume that those thoughts come from the same general area that mine do. Consciously and consistently navigate away from those thoughts. And in that regard, you'll save money too. In the online content area, you'll save security. That was a little easier than I thought. Still hard though. But thanks for watching. Thanks for listening, everybody. Hope you have a wonderful day. And we'll see you tomorrow. Love you.